Hey, Vibhor and George, thanks for joining.
Thanks for inviting.
Good, lovely. Okay, you all should be able to see my screen, I suppose. And okay, I suppose all of you can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. So Smartcuts, it's about all of us wants to be successful, but there are multiple cycles that we go through, and we assume those are the cycles that we have to go through no matter what. But time and again, what we can see is there are cycles that you can skip. There are cycles that you don't have to necessarily take, and you can move through. So I'm going to give you, this is a summary of the book that I read. I have followed this, the steps that I'm talking to you, I have followed them. So they are all coming from my own experience. And I'll share those experiences also so that you can relate to it and you can take away certain things from it. Okay. So let's start with this. Derek Sivers is my favorite entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur slash philosopher. When he was a student, or rather he was, before he was going into the music college, he met a person called Chemo, and Chemo told him, hey, you know what? The regular system, regular college is built for average students, the regular students. But if you are driven than most of the people, which you are, then you can do more. So he gave him certain lessons. He said, okay, start this song and then sing like, sing in C major, sing one pitch lower, and so on and so forth. And he gave so much of lessons. What that made Derek do is that he was able to complete 4-year college in 2.5 years. And he took that particular lesson into his life. He started a company called CD Baby. He scaled it up. He sold it. And then he now travels around the world and he writes books and so on and so forth. So the major point of the story, and it's a true story, it's an anecdote, is that if you are driven than most people, you can bypass cycles because the system is developed for average people. And I'm going to give you another example from my own life. When I was a junior manager, I asked the head of HR, hey, I want to be a vice president soon. In our company, normally it would take about 14 years. Normally, if I get promoted every time regularly and all of that kind of a thing, it will still take me 14 years to become a vice president. What should I do if I have to become a vice president in 7 years? He said, that is not possible. We don't have any plans for that. We don't have any programs for that. And I tried talking to him. I said, you know, you put on a plan. If I fail, it's okay. But he said, no, that's not possible. There are no special roles. We won't do that. Can everyone mute, please? Okay. And then he said that. And I was disappointed, but then I quit. And I did my own way. And in 8 years, I became a chief technology officer. So again, you know, instead of 14 years to become a vice president, in 8 years, I became a chief technology officer. So I used all of these principles that I'm going to talk about, and hopefully it's all useful to you. And I have split this into 3 different categories. The first category is when you are starting, because that's where a lot of confusion, a lot of dilemma is going to be there for you. So when you are starting, you need to shorten the path for either success or failure. You want to know how this can happen, right? So this is the image that I had, and hopefully this is why you are all here, most of you. But if you see here, this is our the left side, the red color. This is our regular career path. We start somewhere and we hit our peak, and everybody says, you know what, we need Joseph. We need Abhinav. Only Abhinav can solve this particular problem. He's the fantastic guy. We need Abhinav. And guess what? At some point in time, they start saying, you know what? I need somebody like Joseph. Because now Joseph is way too expensive, way too experienced. I cannot touch him. So I need somebody like Joseph. And then that starts your fading away phase. And you start slowly fading away. You are still stuck in that particular job. You have too much EMI. You have too much going on risk there. So you stuck there and you are slowly starting to fade away because other people are coming and taking your role. But successful people, they parlay, they jump the ladder, they move on from one ladder to the other ladder when they are successful in that particular ladder. And there are multiple examples. Take Barack Obama. And for that matter, you can go and read about almost all the US presidents, and almost all US presidents have followed this. They'll be successful in something. They are not, most of them are not born politicians, except probably George Bush and few other people. They are not in a dynastic family, unlike in India. So they will be successful in something, maybe in the law, maybe in other area business, and so on and so forth. And they are successful. And as they are successful, they will parlay, they will cross into the another area where they can be successful. They are still starting at a low area in that new field, but they are not starting at zero because they are carrying some success with them. And this is the example I can tell you. Say, for example, in India, this is very prevalent. You might be coming from the US. You are a US return. In the US, like, I mean, we have met with a lot of folks who are US return. Some of them are really good. Some of them may not be as fantastic as they claim to be. But when they come back here, they are immediately starting at a much higher role. As much as we might hate it, resent it, but that's the truth. That happens all the time. You might know about the Slumdog Millionaire movie. I don't know how many of you know who wrote that particular book. He's an Indian Foreign Service person. He's an IFS. So he's having a successful career as IFS officer, bureaucrat. While he's successful, he's writing a book. And that book becomes famous. So he becomes an author, established author. That book gets produced. So he also becomes the script writer and so on and so forth. So you can see that he is parlaying, he is crossing the ladder as for his success. And he is establishing himself in multiple different ways. He can retire, he can become another, maybe a CEO in some company because he has a lot of IFS experience, or he can continue to write a lot of books, and so on and so forth. There's a person called Sujata in Tamil Nadu. He did this. He was just a government servant, and he wrote a lot of books. And I don't know whether you are aware of, there was a movie called Robo by Rajinikanth was acting on it. Sujata wrote that particular script for it. And before that, he has written multiple different scripts. So you can see that he is successful in one area, and then he is parlaying into something else. And I have done that as well. As I told you, I was I was a project manager in one of the companies. Then I went into government consulting. I established myself as a government consultant while I was successful. Then I jumped and I became a CTO. I started a company in between, but then I became a CTO eventually. So this is the way that a lot of people, a lot of successful people that I have seen, they all do that. Yeah, it's the same thing with founders also. Girish, who is the founder of Freshdesk, he was pretty successful in Zoho, jumps out, starts a company, successful. As he is successful, he becomes a venture capitalist, right? So as you are successful, you are moving up. So this shortens the path for you to become successful in everything. The second way to do that is mimic a master. Today, it is possible for us to pick up anybody in the internet and mimic them, but closer to your home, closer to your place, whom you can relate to, it is much better to mimic, because you can observe them very closely. You can understand what they are doing, and you can think through and say, hey, you know what? This is how this person will think. So there is a person called Alan Weiss. Whoever have talked to me, I would have talked to them multiple times about Alan Weiss. I have talked to you about Derek Sivers. And I have a personal mentor called Sastri Tumuluri. He has been my mentor for quite a long time, 15 years or so. At any given point in time, I will ask myself, what will Sastri do? What will Alan Weiss do? Now, I have watched so much of videos of Alan Weiss. I have read 5 books of his, and I have read so much of blog posts of his. I have interacted with him. Now, I know what he will think. So you are able to mimic somebody. And as kids, we all have done that, right? So like, I mean, we all mimic our parents. We all mimic somebody else. Probably we all mimic some movie hero or another popular person. We all mimic. But then this, you are doing it with the very purpose of being successful. And you are mimicking it. As you are mimicking, you discover yourself. You say, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. This I like, this I don't like. And this is the path that I want to do. So as you are mimicking the master, you are discovering yourself. And as you discover yourself, you are transforming yourself into a particular path that you are carving out yourself. You are saying, this is how it is going to work. As I said, like Alan Weiss is a consultant. I have mimicked quite a lot of path that he has taken. But again, I'm in India, so I have discovered what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and I have carved out a path, something similar to what he is, but then it is entirely of mine, and as I build up on top of that, right? So I'm not going to say everything is mine. I learned all of these things by myself. No, I have mimicked everybody. There is a famous author, Carlos, a Mexican author. He said this: don't ask a lion how he grew. A lion is made up of all the animals that he has eaten. So it is something similar to that. I am a product of the masters that I have imitated: Derek Sivers, Alan Weiss, and Sastri Tumulu, right? The third point, when you want to shorten your success, shorten your path, you are bypassing some of the cycles, is to build rapid feedback. Because sometimes what happens is, as you can see, like in most of our careers, we will sit down after a year and we will get a feedback. And that's too late to change anything. And the only choice that probably you would have is probably to quit. Or even if you're building something, maybe you are building on your own for 6 months, 1 year, and then you launch it, it fails. Rather, take small bets and build in public. In this particular series, one of the first show that I had was how Jeff Bezos built Amazon in public. What are the lessons that you can learn from his annual letters? And I will send it to you, or you can search it out in my blog. So when you're building in public, when you are sharing the strategy, this is why I'm doing, and this is the trend that I'm seeing, so I'm doing, people are going to give you feedback. That feedback you can depend on, you can build on top of those feedback. And the bets are bet. Any question? Okay. So small bets you are taking, and then you are building in public, and you are observing others. And I'm going to give you an example of myself in this particular one, the session that I'm taking. So when I started the first session, if you see, I only invited the people whom I really knew. So it was a small bet. If at all failed, I will fail only within 10, 20 people whom I knew. And it was in public. And I observed everybody who has conducted a webinar. I would talk to people. I connected with them on Twitter, LinkedIn. I would ask, what should I be careful about? How should I take it? And all of those kinds of stuff. And slowly, I built my audience, and I'm here, right? So even whatever that you are trying to build, whatever the success that you want to have, you could be a business analyst, you want to jump into a sales, you might be any of these kinds of stuff, you are working as an employee, but you are actually envisioning of building a product. Any of these things, think what's a small bet that you can take. What is that you can do in the next 90 days? Put it out in the market and ask for feedback. What is the smallest bet? 90 days that's all you're going to take. The smallest element that you can do and put it out and see what is going to happen. And as you are doing it, ask others for feedback who have been in that particular journey and ask that particular feedback. Hey, is this right? Am I going in the right direction? And so on and so forth. Okay. So these are the 3 things for the shorten. And let me stop here and ask for if you have any questions. Do you have any questions, anything at all, so that I can answer them and then before I move to the next one? Anybody has any questions? You can put it on chat also.
How did you, shortlist the people who you wanted to imitate? I know Shastri, but how did you come around the other 2 people?
Basically reading and trying to imitate almost everybody whom I did. And okay, it was pretty simple. Both Derek and Alan Weiss, they have extensively talked about being an introvert while building whatever that they were building. Derek Sivas built his company. Alan Weiss built his boutique consulting. And I was an introvert trying to come out at that particular point in time, struggling with myself. Whatever that I'm doing was right or wrong, because both of them wrote very extensively about being an introvert while building. That attracted me, and I kept reading them, and then I got attracted to them. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, so let me move on to the next one. So since you have now what you have done is you have found what works for you, and you have put something in the public and it is working. Now you need to go to the next stage. You need to leverage. You need to move a little more faster. So the first thing is you amplify with platforms. So here, if you see, I'm on Zoom, it's a platform. I'm able to connect with all of you. I know Shakir is in Qatar. Some people are in Saudi Arabia. Some of them are in Bangalore. I'm able to amplify my signal. And I'm casting this on YouTube. Most of you knew me from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a platform. So you are amplifying whatever that you are building. So the first session that I had, I did not put it out in LinkedIn. As I said, I only sent it to some few people that I knew who will be okay if I fail, who will give me feedback and encourage me to continue to go on. But subsequently, I put it on LinkedIn, and subsequently, I put it on everywhere else. So what I would say is, if you don't know any other platform, go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform for all of us who are professionals who wants to grow. If you want, you can go to YouTube. If you're a lot more into a visual person, you can take videos, go to YouTube or go to Twitter, any of these platforms. And in fact, I have seen WhatsApp also as a fantastic platform to amplify the signal. I'm part of certain groups. There are people here who are part of some of these groups that I'm part of in WhatsApp. So look for platforms. For me, the platforms are LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and YouTube. Those are the 3. All the other things are tech and tools. So Zoom, Luma, these are all amplifying tools. So now that you have found what is working, say for example, you are building a product, or say for example, I think Abhinav is in business analysis. Say for example, he wants to write about business analysis. So first he's trying to imitate some people, and then he finds out that it is working. He's getting attraction. Then he need to start amplifying that particular signal. He should start writing in a platform like Medium, or maybe in Substack, and then share it on LinkedIn, and maybe have a session like this and have it on YouTube. So you can amplify your signal. Now, what happens is, while you are working on the platforms, your skill improves. As I said, when I started with this, I did not have much skills about these kinds of creating presentations and so on and so forth. Of course, I learned as I was doing it. But as you're building, your skill is also amplifying because you don't have all the skill that is needed. So you are building those skills. And while doing it, one of the mistakes that I have done earlier is that I would try to create a platform. Say, for example, I would say, hey, I'm a tech guy. Why should I rely on Luma? After all, it is sending an email. I can build something over the weekend. You know what? I will start building over the weekend. That will take 3 months, and I will not start this. So I chose existing platforms. None of these things that I'm presenting to you, none of these things are created by me. All of these things, Luma, Zoom, LinkedIn, I'm using all the existing platforms. So you need to find those platforms. Now, some of these platforms are tools, like say, for example, YouTube, LinkedIn, Medium, Substack, so on and so forth. Sometimes it is environment. The environment in which you are in. Say, for example, you might join a community, join an association. Say, for example, like Thai groups, the Indus entrepreneurs, you can join. Or if you are in business analysis, maybe some of the Scrum Masters Association, you can join those environments, which will amplify your signal and your skill. Maybe you are joining some of the courses that they are conducting, or you are taking some of the courses, and so on and so forth, right? So you are amplifying your signal as well as you are amplifying your skill. And that is how that is going to bring more connections. And when it is bringing more connections, you will start to see patterns. You will start to see certain waves. When you are talking to a lot of people, you will start to see, hey, this is what is happening in the US. This is what is happening in Europe. And probably it is only 2-3 years before it comes to India. Maybe I could be a fast follower. I could start doing it now so that when it hits India, I am already ahead of the curve, right? So you are looking for patterns. One of the things that I do all the time is I read annual reports of companies. I'm in software industry, so I don't read the tier 1 annual report. So say, for example, Infosys and TCS, because they are large enough, they can play in anything that they want. But I look for second tier companies. Let's say, for example, Sonata or Tech Mahindra, those companies, and I will read their annual reports. And if they are budgeting something, and they will mention it, this is the things that your company is happy to do this, blah, blah, blah. So I will look for that. And I will see, is it applicable, or is it seen in multiple different companies? If it is in multiple companies, probably that is a trend that is going to hit. And I have been benefited out of it. And if any of you are into this kind of a thing, I know it may not be a great hobby that I could recommend, but read some of these public listed companies' annual reports. You will gain a lot, especially go to what their investments are going in, because they are budgeting it. They are putting money into it, and you will learn. So you look for it and you start playing in your own way. And as you grow, you surf. The wave, that it is giving you a head start. It is giving you a wind behind you. And then you surf on that particular wind. And that's how I have grown in all these ways. Instead of being a first follower, be a fast follower. You don't have to be a first follower. Do not make the mistake that I need to be first. I'm not the first one to create these webinars and so on and so forth, right? But can you be a fast follower? Can you change things quickly? We'll see about momentum in a minute, but can you be a fast follower? Can you quickly change things? That's why observing others matters. When you are observing others, you are saying, hey, you know what? I'm using Google Meet, but somebody else is using Zoom. Why is that? Is it better than the Google Meet that I'm using? Can I try it out? Somebody else is streaming to YouTube and Facebook. Why is he doing that? Can I also do it? So be a fast follower to amplify whatever that you are doing. And then pick your condition. As I said, as I was discussing with Abhinav before everybody joined in, should I have it on a Thursday or some other day? I said Thursday works for me, and I will have it on Thursday. I will check it up. And if it works, I'll continue to have it on Thursday. So pick your condition. You don't have to wait for everything. As I said, you need to make small bets, and you should move forward. Pick your condition to play and continue to play. So you are looking for patterns, you are looking for a wave to surf, and you are surfing and following fast from others. For leveraging, you need to have network. You need to work with people. When I started, for the first 5 to 6 years of my career, my whole network was homogeneous. It was all Tamil engineering guys in computer science, computer industry of my age. So when we go to coffee, what will we speak? We'll all talk the same thing. Who is giving bonus? Who is sending you on site? No other thing that we discussed. And none of them had any other connection. We were all, hanging out together. In the last 10 years or so, I have built my connection with IAS officers, entrepreneurs, lawyers, chartered accountants, and so on and so forth. Importantly, I have connections with hubs, people who know many other people, people who have connections with other industries. So I might know one chartered accountant who opens up doors for me with other chartered accountants. I know one entrepreneur who has connections to Tribune Chandigarh journalist, and he opens up doors for me so that I can go and write in Tribune Chandigarh. I've written for Tribune Chandigarh paper in Chandigarh, but that I didn't know those journalists. Somebody else opened the door for me. So you need to make connections with these hubs who will again amplify whatever that you are doing. And look at it as a relation that you are building, not as a transaction. I gave, so he has to give me. No, you can wait for a year before he or she returns whatever that you are given. While you are doing it, build your own fan base, right? So yes, you are building with a hub, and because of the hub, you will get to know few people in that particular network. Build your own fan base because of the offer and the value that you can build it. And that's happening. Some of you might already know me and how I do that. So you should create value. So when the advantage of working with hubs is that when you are working with hubs, you are only offering or debating and discussing with those people who are the hubs. You can term them as gatekeepers, but I like to see them as hubs. So you are only dealing with that hubs. So it is much easier rather than dealing with the entire crowd, entire network. So this helps you in that. Again, I'm going to take a pause here. If you have any questions, I would like to address them. So we talked about shorten, and then we talked about leverage, and we'll talk about how you can soar. But before that, if you have any questions, let me address them. Any questions? Anybody has any questions? Okay.
You are going great, Joseph.
Okay, wonderful. I hope all of you are able to understand what I am saying. Wonderful. Good. Thanks. Good to hear. Okay. So now, yeah, please.
Yeah, I missed the first 8 minutes of your talk. So I was not there when you explained shorten. Could you please repeat it for me?
Yeah, I will send you the link, sir. There is a video,
Okay.
and then you can look at it. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So when we are looking at soaring, so now when you are at the point of soar, you have found out what works for you. You have built a network. Now you are ready to fly high. Now, when I say this, when I say shorten and leverage, please do not think it is to do with the age. You can do this at any point in time. See, I'm nearing my 50, and I am starting with these webinars. I'm starting with this coaching. So I'm actually in the shorten phase. Sometimes you might be starting your career. Yeah, like rightfully you are shortening everything that you are doing, right? So don't attach this to your age. Attach this to what you are doing and where you are in that particular phase rather than to the age. Okay. Now, while you are soaring, while you are ready to fly, the first and foremost thing that is important is momentum. Do you have momentum? Can you go fast? That's momentum is an ingredient. So if you send me a mail, I will reply back to you in 24 hours, not 1 week, not, I will send a reply to you. Can I be fast? Can you be fast? Can you, if something were to happen, can you exploit it? Somebody approached to me last week with a proposal. Hey, Joseph, can you teach for a new school that I am associated with? In a week, we have had 2 calls. Can you go fast? That's absolutely important if you want to fly high. You need to build momentum. For that, you need to have systems. Because I've been doing this for 10 years, I've been practicing writing, I've been publishing, I've been creating these kinds of slides and presentations. Now, all of my backlog has become a reservoir. And when the moment comes, I can create so many of these slides and writings and so on and so forth. Okay, so you need to build momentum. And as you are going along, you are going to see luck events. You're going to come across luck events. Can you exploit them? Can you quickly turn around? Can you answer them in the way that they like it? So you need to exploit those luck events. Luck is going to happen for every one of us. If you are prepared, you'll be able to spot those opportunities. The difference is, if you are not prepared, you will not spot those opportunities. If you are prepared, you will be able to spot those opportunities and exploit them. You will be able to take advantage of those luck events. So I've been thinking of creating a course and launching a course and doing something like this. Now, COVID happened. Quickly, I said, okay, this is the course I'm going to start, and I've started. Now I'm on the 4th batch, 4th cohort. So you should be able to exploit those events. Everybody was okay to take courses online. Otherwise, they would have said, you know what, Joseph, you need to come here. I want to see you, yada, yada, yada. Today, they're all happy to be on Zoom. So I launched a course, and now we are on the 4th batch. So can you exploit those luck events? Have you built enough backlog with you so that quickly, when the dam opens, you are able to release as quickly as possible in multiple directions? All right. So I launched a course, I launched a webinar, my newsletters are going on. Can you be a machine basically approaching everywhere? Okay. And when you are doing it, you are going to be burdened with so much of opportunities. Can you say no? Most difficult thing to say, because what got you here will be imprinted in your mind, and you will start to see, oh my God, I need to get more opportunities. No. Once you remember this, you are at the soar side of it, that section of it. You are flying. That time, if you are going to sit and wanting to go back to whatever that you were doing earlier, you are going to only slow down. So you should be able to say no and strip any choices that is not aiding you. And you don't have to put a full-fledged decision framework for everything that you are doing. So people who know me, they know that I only wear a jean and a white shirt or a blue shirt. That's a decision that I don't want to make. I don't want to spend half an hour, 1 hour in taking dresses every day or purchasing dresses. Because this is my choices are like this. My wife can purchase, my sister can purchase. I don't even have to go for shopping. So look at your life and say, okay, I'm going fast now. I want to go faster. What are the choices that I can absolutely delegate to somebody else or stop making them? I don't need them. So you should be able to strip any of these choices and decisions and stick to fundamentals. When you are flying high, there is a lot of opportunities for you to slip. So if you make your journey complex, when you are flying high, when you make your journey complex, there will be a lot of opportunities for you to fail. So can you stick to fundamentals? One of the examples that I always give is that pay your taxes, right? Very simple. A lot of people will try to make a lot of complicated stuff that actually slows them down. So stick to fundamentals, keep moving forward. Finally, 10x thinking. Now that you are going, now you should always ask, every quarter, I ask myself, what can I do 10x now? Whom I can partner? For me, 1 + 1 has to be 10. 1 + 1 is not 2. 1 + 1 has to be 10. who can help me reach faster, who can help me to shorten the time, or who can help me to amplify my success much more. And so, which means I am not looking to hit every ball that is coming through. So I told you earlier, you should be able to say no. I'm not trying to hit every ball that is coming to me, but I'm looking for a big swing. Can I hit sixes? In fact, can I hit to the next town? So I'm looking for big swings. And I'm looking not to work harder. The people who know me, they know I only work 3 days a week. Can you work smarter rather than working harder? And it all comes down to counterintuitive thinking. It is nothing to do with, most of the time, this is what the Smartcuts are. You are thinking in a little different way so that you can go faster. Now, any of these things, these are all genuine Smartcuts. None of these things are illegal or put you into problems, right? So you are, as I said, stick to fundamentals. When you stick to fundamentals, you can go faster. You are taking a big swing. Now, this is the summary. This is the book, Smartcuts. Read it. Fantastic book. I have applied them multiple times. In fact, this book, when I was reading it, Shane has articulated some of the principles that I have been following without really knowing that I've been following. So he has done this. Read this book, fantastic book. And here is the summary. 3 stages, Mr. Corona, now it should help you. So 3 stages, shorten. How can you shorten? Parlay, jump the ladder. Don't stick to the same thing. In fact, Mr. Corona is a really good example as well. He has done this multiple times. So hack the ladder, look at a master, imitate a master, discover yourself, and then innovate on what works for you. Pick a system that will give you rapid feedback. Build small bets, put it out in the public, see what works, observe others who are in the same journey, see what they are doing, how they are failing, and see whether you can embrace them, adapt them, and then move on. Once you have figured that out, leverage it. Leverage using a platform. The platforms could be the technology platforms, environment platforms like associations. Look for patterns. What patterns are emerging across? Read trend reports. Mary Maker report is one of the reports about internet trends. You should read it. As I said, read annual reports. Read these things to see what are the patterns that are coming in. So say, for example, when the social media platform come in, I embrace all the platforms, Facebook, Clubhouse, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere I will be, and I will try to play with it, and I will see what works for me, and I will stick with it, and I will go double down on it. So for me now, LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter is what works. So I have kind of ignored everything else. So see the pattern and pick what it works for you, and then connect with people who have a lot of network. You, like, especially as I explained in this particular thing, I am a lot more of a introvert. So I don't really enjoy going out and partying and talking to a lot of folks. So I network with people who have a lot more network. And then I build a great connection with them. I create values for them. And they remember me whenever an opportunity opens up, they refer it to me. So connect with people who have a lot of network. And then when you are really now you are nailing it. Now you want to scale it. Shorten and leverage, you are nailing your product or a service or your success. Soar is when you are scaling. When you are scaling, can you build momentum? Can you build a system? Have you built systems so that you can go faster? And stick to fundamentals. Simplify everything else. No complexity, complicated thinking. No complicated systems. And can you partner with people? Can you partner with systems which will give you 1 + 1 = 10 results, right? Now, I'm going to give you a couple of action points. I hope you will do them. One, as I said, I conduct Gravitas Wins course. I will send you the link. Register for it. I start the next batch in somewhere in April, and you can register for it. Subscribe to my newsletter. Every Wednesday, I send out a very short newsletter, which has all the details that I talk about, right? So you can subscribe, you can gain from it, you can interact with me. Now, these 3, I am deriving from whatever that I have learned, whatever I told you now. Go to LinkedIn, post a message. This is what I learned. Try to use the platform to build kind of a momentum for you, build some kind of attraction for you. And call 3 people, talk to people. Say, for example, you got fired tomorrow. Who will be the people who you will call? Or you talking to those people today? So why should you wait until you get fired? Talk to them today. Talk to them. Say what you are doing, what you are thinking of doing. Ask them, can you help me doing this, right? And pick some masters. It could be people who are very close to you or people who are virtual, right? One of the stories that I like in Mahabharata is Ekalaivan. Pick a master to imitate, and that's the way you will grow. Thank you. Any questions? Hello?
Yeah, Joseph, one question from my end. Am I audible?
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, like, should the the pivot you mentioned, should it be like only in terms of my domain or what I'm working on in terms of my KRAs, or it is actually in terms of your profile as well? Speaking in purely career basis, like how should
Yeah, it is. In fact, I mean, hacking the ladder is not about sticking to your own role. So, say, for example, you are a business analyst now. You could say, okay, I want to try sales. So you could jump into sales. Now, when you jump into sales, you might think that you are starting from scratch. You are not, because the people in sales, they may not understand anything to do with the services that you are selling. But as a business analyst, you understand it. So you are actually starting at the 3rd step or the 4th step of the sales, right? And then you are doing the sales. And then when you are at the 80% of the sales, jump to something else. So when you hit 40, 45, you would have had so much of expertise in multiple fields. So when an executive post opens, guess who they are going to look at? Because you will have varied experience. You will understand business analyst, you will understand technology, you will understand sales. They will say, okay, Abhinav is the guy who can understand all of those things rather than somebody else who has only one particular experience. So that's the way you need to look at it. Hope I answered your question.
Right. Yep. Thanks.
Thanks, George, for your comment. Any other questions? Anything else?